What's going on, junkies? It's Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey, and this is the Daily Wealth Junkies Show. Thanks for joining us today. We've got an awesome show here in store for you. But first, don't forget, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies, and to subscribe to the show so that way you don't miss any of our daily guests here. And with that, I'm going to toss it right over to Will, and Will's going to introduce our awesome guest for the day.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. So today we have JP McAvoy on the show. He is a corporate commercial lawyer. He has offices in both Canada and the US. He's worked with both millionaires and billionaires and has a podcast called The Millionaire's Lawyer. So with that being said, JP, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background and just what got you to where you are today?
No, that's great. Thanks so much for that introduction. Yeah.
Sure.
Background, what got me to where I guess I am today is just coming out of university. I get into law school, and some of my buddies go on to found some of the biggest companies in the world. So when I say millionaires and billionaires, I went to school with and ended up joining Elon Musk and his brother Kimball down in California just out of university. And as a consequence of that, well, I guess a lot of the stories now well known, but joining for the first company and a subsequent wealth that was created from there that's translated into many others. So that's kind of made me this corporate commercial lawyer that has done it a number of times and seen the lessons that the entrepreneur needs to live and suffer through, maybe even if you want to, along the way to creating vast wealth. So by doing that, I've seen it, I guess, in the trenches and then been able to translate it in a corporate commercial law setting for clients ever since.
Wow. Okay. So just to clarify, you said you went to school and you started working with Elon Musk and his brother. Is that?
Yeah. That's the one when people usually come back to and say, let's go over that one more time.
Yeah. Let's not skip over that.
Yeah. That's sort of, it's interesting to listeners, isn't it? So to be clear, I mean, I went to Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, and Elon and Kimball actually both went there as well. They were born in South Africa, but came to Canada for their schooling in their later years. Both ended up at Queen's. Elon did 2 years there, and then he continued on at Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania. Kimball stayed on, as did I, and I finished school with him. After completion of undergrad, Elon and Kimball went to start their first company. They tried to do it in Toronto, actually, and I went off to law school. And it was in the course of them starting that first company that really was the first of their many major successes. They were sort of staying in touch with me and saying, "Hey, look what's going on. This is crazy. Someone's giving us all kinds of money. You got to come join us." I eventually left law school to join them, and I say, a lot of the rest is history because they've grown that first success into multiple huge success stories since. I went to school with, and when I went to California, I actually lived with Elon. Like I was down in the trenches originally with him as he grew his first company.
No kidding.
Wow, that's awesome.
What was he like?
Well, he's a lot like you see, or a lot like you read about him. He's pretty straightforward. Like there's not a lot of guff with him, right? And that's why he keeps getting into trouble as well, because he doesn't really care, and he's not doing it for the money either.
Right.
He's sincere when he's saying he wants to change the world, right? He's sincere when he's saying, electric cars are going to change the way we do things. He's sincere when he's saying that we need to be an interplanetary species. Like he's sincere when he's saying, let's go to Mars, let's get this done. And he's willing to stake all his money and all his reputation on accomplishing that goal or whatever goal he's got in his sights for that particular day. And I saw it up front. He is relentless. He'll work all night. He'll work all day to make that dream or whatever the dream or vision is come to fruition.
Wow. So in your personal life, did he have any influence on kind of how you built your business and how you kind of did business from there on out, or did you learn anything from him?
Yeah, great question, because certainly did. The biggest one for me, and it's interesting because I have that blend of legal and entrepreneurial skill. Lawyers, and all through my legal training, we're taught to be cynics and to question and to say why not. And I'll admit, I was doing the very same thing early in my career. And my experience with Kimball and those around him, right? These are all people that they don't say why not, they say why, or they say how, right? And so I learned very early as a lawyer to not get in the way of the visionary, but instead to be there to support the vision. Obviously in a constructive way. A lawyer, there are certain things a lawyer does to protect and ensure things are being done the right way. But a lot of lawyers end up over lawyering and creating barriers for an entrepreneur. And I learned very early on not to get in the way of that entrepreneurial spirit. Allow that to thrive and just support it as best you can.
Yeah.
So what type of entrepreneurial ventures have you taken on as well, learning from that, from the entrepreneurs you worked with and as well as your own drive?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I guess even from a legal perspective, I've created my own firm called Conduct Law. So there's a law firm that's very much focused in this area for business-minded entrepreneurs who perhaps maybe visionaries or people that are looking to grow their businesses. So certainly an entrepreneur in my own right by virtue of creating my own law firm. And then I've been involved in a number of startups as well, subsequent to my time with Elon and Kimball. Startups that range and my level of participation ranging from simply the lawyer to being a founder or investor or sitting on an advisory board for startups with a range of technologies from biometric voice security to different types of different types of products, even including things like fortified waters and energy bars, running the gamut to service-minded companies that deliver services. For example, worked with a group of physiotherapists that are seeking to deliver their services in an Uber-like fashion. So a whole range of business enterprises that I've been confronted with ever since.
Nice. So you mentioned that you were originally in law school, then you left to go do to start the company with Elon and do all that. So what got you to come back to law and ultimately finish up? I assume that you finished up because you run a law firm.
A law firm.
Yeah.
That's a great question. And yeah, you're obviously listening because I went down for what was originally intended to be just a summer. So I was in law school and I mean, the first company was really early internet as well. The first company was called Zip2, and it was bought by Compaq Computers to merge with another to form Alta Vista, which I don't know if you recall, but it was one of the early search engines. And I went down for what was supposed to be the summer between my second and third year law school, and things were on fire, right? I mean, this is down in Silicon Valley, really in the heyday, and
was it kind of late 90s?
Late 90s, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Late 90s, right? Before there was any discussion of a crash or anything. It was things were on fire. So I remember calling up the dean as the next school year was set to begin to say, hey, what happens if I don't come back this year? And they said, you got 2 years. 2 years. So you've done 2 years of law school. You can put it on hold for 2 years. After which time you lose your you lose credit for what you've done and you're reapplying. So
got it. Okay.
That gave me a pretty nice window. We ended up selling that company just towards the end of that 2 year window.
Oh, that's awesome.
So timing worked out well. I sometimes question why I came back, like in the middle of winter when I'm sitting in Canada. I think to myself, why did I come back?
Right.
But to answer your question, there was a very, very nice timeline that coincided with my requirement to get back and finish law school. So that's what assisted my decision in that regard.
So your guys' original intent was always to build up this asset and ultimately sell it.
Yes.
So you knew that there was a finite amount of time it would take to do that, and that's you thought that it could fit into that 2 year window, and you were obviously right. So
that's absolutely the case. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I wish I would have wrote down the question that I just was thinking about. There. So where are you getting some of the clients on the lawyer side? Is it through connections that you've built in the past, referrals, advertising? Where are they coming from?
Yeah. A lot of it's word of mouth. So by virtue of the work I've done previous, you can hear how my mindset's maybe not, there's a lot of lawyers that are dinosaurs. Let me just say that, the traditional,
we've dealt with them.
Yeah, I mean, you probably deal with them, right? And so I get a lot of work from clients that are either repeat business or have referred others to me because I know I help get deals done, right? And I'm there to insert value and ideally grow a business for a client. I mean, I service my firm services a whole range of clients, but the base of clients are entrepreneurs that are tasked with or interested in growing a business with a view to eventually exiting it. So on the basis of that, we talk with a lot of entrepreneurs. That's why we've expanded, like not just throughout Canada, but the United States and beyond. We get to a certain set of clients from Asia as well. Fewer from Europe, from Asia as well, that are seeking to do business here or seeking to discover ways of executing on their business plans. So a lot of it's word of mouth. The power of the internet as well. I mean, it's wonderful to be a guest on the show here. I'd like to help you guys get your message out as well. And I find it as I do this type of activity that your own audiences are intrigued or interested in finding out more, and on occasion they reach out as well. And it's in that way where the network continues to expand.
That's it. I mean, that's how it works,
So what types of things are you doing to help these, wannabe entrepreneurs build the business, and eventually, what's, step A to Z from starting it all the way to selling it? What's your role in that?
Yeah. Great question. I mean, the first thing, as a lawyer getting involved is getting the house in order, almost without fail. And not surprisingly, an entrepreneur's bootstrapping things or got things band-aided together until such time as they're in a position to begin investing in legal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you're telling me that entrepreneurs are unorganized? Are you kidding?
I mean, I think it's a requirement, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, definitely.
It really is. And, going back 100%. To an Elon type, right? I mean, there's different skill sets. And indeed, there's a skill set that allows a business to be launched, not necessarily run a company when it gets to a certain size, right? So that's one thing I help people with as well. That's the sort of exit, right? Oftentimes, an entrepreneur is good at, being the energy to get a company to a certain level, but sometimes they're at the end of their skill set by the time they get it to a certain size as well. So to answer your question, originally I look at how things are structured, and invariably there are a great deal of improvements that can be made. So we get the house in order as a first instance. And then for me, the business side is to talk about what the goal is. Sometimes people haven't thought through an exit strategy. And so talk through the range of options that might be available. And depending on what the entrepreneur seems to be suggesting they're interested in doing, we make sure, again, as we get the house in order, we're laying a foundation for that future success. And so that's where it begins. And ideally, me and my firm are involved for the ride, right? Because that's how, again, going back to what we said before, we all do better. We all do well. If I'm helping a company grow and there's a success event at the end of the day, well, my firm and myself get to participate in that.
Yeah. So what is a success story where someone came to you with essentially nothing, but I don't know what point they do come to you. Do they come to you when they have a vision, or are they a little bit further along? How does it normally work?
Yeah. Ideally they're a little bit further along.
Okay. That's what I thought.
I mean, I'll get somebody that's just contacting and say they haven't created a corporate, they don't have anything. And I'll, usually it's a consult at that stage. I'm giving them a couple of ideas and making sure they have a bit more than a proof of concept. If it's a really skilled entrepreneur, then they know they're in a position to execute and retain counsel, I'll get involved.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's sort of a conversation, especially if it's something that comes sort of abroad, right? Saying, okay, great. When you get to this stage and you need a lawyer, let me know. And then on the retainer basis, it's yes, okay. Well, we want you to get the company structured, whatever, the makeup of the management team looks like, we want to see everything entrenched properly. Maybe have our shares issued, or maybe there's a lender, maybe there's an investor. Getting all that squared away is certainly the time when there's, full legal engagement.
Got it. Okay. So back to my original question that I was kind of getting to, what is one of the success stories that where you've worked with someone, they built up a company and sold it, and it was just an awesome case study that you can talk about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could cite any number of them because there've been quite a few, and it's interesting. Maybe as that case study, I would probably refer to or think of a couple of clients that I've had that are repeat clients. You hear the term these serial entrepreneurs. They get it. Like they have the recipe for success, right? And those are the ones where, they keep coming back. And it's very interesting for them. When I talk about that recipe for success, it's not really dependent on the business that they're doing. It's the fact that they're running a business. So I've got a couple of clients that they'll look for a business that's floundering, right? So it's not necessarily something that they're inventing new. Mm-hmm. They're looking at a business that's not being well run, and they know that they come in, do certain things to it, engage me to do certain things to it. They can create value and sell that business. So probably the best case scenarios are these skilled entrepreneurs that look at things, know there's a better way to do them, know how to bring a team together that includes legal and accounting. And oftentimes for this, a couple of clients, I'm thinking of a business broker that helps them then sell the business, and they repeat the formula, and each time they make, they're making, or there's a return on their investment each time.
So for a listener, let's say, one of our listeners, they've got this great idea. They're starting to take the right steps forward for creating the business. They're an entrepreneur. Explain to them why they would need to engage a lawyer in their business.
Taxes.
Okay.
That's the one thing, taxes and protection, but a lot of it's driven by taxes, and not in a bad way. I mean, we all pay taxes, but why pay more than our fair share, right? So a lot of that will come from somebody saying, okay, I'm organized. Maybe I'm pumping some money in, and it's likely after-tax money. They don't have things structured in the best way. So if they haven't come to that realization themselves, they might be talking to their accountant that says you're paying some tax here. Let's get stuff structured for you in a way that minimizes taxes during the operation, and just as importantly, minimizes taxes on an exit. I mean, there's capital gain exemptions if you're structured properly that you can take advantage of. Why leave money on the table, right? So certainly, yes. Somebody sitting out there right now that's got a bit of a following and a business going, that's listening and saying, hey, yeah, I'm at the spot where it makes. I mean, lawyers, you're going to pay for a lawyer. You're going to pay for an accountant to look at things. But when you've created enough value where there's going to be a taxable event, which is pretty much as soon as you start earning money and you think you might be able to sell it for a profit, it's time to talk to somebody.
Yeah, no question.
You got to protect that money. So JP, you said you got your own podcast. You want to talk to us a little bit about, what your podcast is and kind of what the goal of that show is?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate the question.
Sure.
The podcast is simply called The Millionaire's Lawyer, right? So I guess I'm branding myself as that millionaire's lawyer, who is speaking to an audience of entrepreneurs with established businesses that are looking to maybe get it over the $1 million threshold, and potential on yearly earnings or on a potential exit sale. So I have on business owners that have done that. I have on accountants that I've worked with and other lawyers that I work with to create the value, so that an audience listening might say, hey, I'm at this phase. I want to take it to that next phase. Here's a podcast that might address some of those things as I learn to grow my business.
That's awesome. That sounds like it'll provide a lot of value.
So jumping back just a little bit, one of the questions I wrote down was, so some of your clients, are they mainly kind of experienced entrepreneurs who've kind of been, creating businesses and selling them and then have that experience, or you have, first time guys coming to you and looking to create wealth and get to the millionaire, billionaire status?
Yeah. I mean, it is the full range. Although I think the majority of them are more established. As they say, I certainly entertain, the odd phone call or email where somebody's reaching out and say, yeah, great. We can help you when you're at the phase. But, to give you an idea for legal or for people listening, if it's just an idea, legal is probably not the first spot they're investing. Maybe it ought to be, but I get it. I mean, an entrepreneur they're more focused on marketing and getting the word out and, developing a product, and they're investing in those areas. So normally there's a bit of a following before people are really, giving a serious thought to the legal. So that tends to be the most typical client, where they've got a bit going. They know that there's something of value they want to protect and maybe minimize their taxes. And that's when they're reaching in and saying, hey, look, it's go time. I actually need a good lawyer on board.
Yeah.
Here's where we're at. Can we get something set up? That's usually when I get involved.
Okay. So once things are starting to go well for them and they actually have some threat of, taxes and gains and things like that.
Taxes and fees. Those are the two biggest wealth destroyers, right?
They really are, right? And as a professional, we're used to seeing them and trying to protect for them. So that's the big thing. That's one of our main focuses.
Yeah.
So JP, what's some stuff that you're working on now, or where do you see your business going in the future?
For my own business, I've got a traditional law practice, as you hear, right? A law firm that's focused on the business owner and all the issues that they might experience. Talk about the podcast that we have that we developed in tandem with the law firm, so it helps get the word out. And obviously, if some of those people looking to grow their business need traditional law, they're reaching over to the law firm, which is called Conduct Law. In tandem with the Millionaire's Lawyer podcast, I've just putting the finishing touches on a book as well. That's called, again, not surprisingly, The Millionaire's Lawyer.
Nice.
which is describing some of these principles. And eventually, to answer your question, it will eventually translate into a course as well. So some of the teachings that I have with clients and some of the initial conversations I have with people, I'm, putting into a couple of formats, especially book and course, so that people might be able to benefit from those if they're interested in seeing them.
Awesome.
Very cool.
And what are your ideas for the course? Who's kind of the target market for the course there?
Yeah. So, and this is a great podcast, right? Because your audience is hearing some of the concepts that I espouse in my own thinking. So it's when somebody is, as a going concern, looking to get to that next level. So the initial focus for the course is doing an assessment of where you are and giving you some strategy, some thoughts for what you want to build out in that process as you get your own house in order and start putting into place some of the additional items that can really add to the value of a company. I'll give you a quick example of that is a lot of entrepreneurs think it has to be them, right? They have to be the go-to person. That has the effect of actually limiting the value of the business. Mm-hmm. It becomes more value when it's not dependent on any one individual. So a lot of times I'm working with an entrepreneur who, is very skilled at what they're doing, but they're reluctant to hand over the reins to anybody else. I encourage them to do just that, to make sure that they're grooming people to come up through the ranks that will add to the value of the company in the event that it's ever, a sale of the company is ever being contemplated. So it's that type of thing. We'll focus the basis of the teachings and into the coursework to make sure that first the entrepreneur sees that, and then perhaps they share that with others involved in the business so that everybody understands the game plan.
Awesome.
Right. Because you sell the process is ultimately that's the value there.
As I said, my most successful clients are the ones that I've got one client that he's retained me 8 times to buy and sell a business in various industries, right? He's come in, he's got an accounting background, but the reality is for other people that don't have an accounting background, we can put them in touch with a good accountant to assist on that side of things.
Yeah.
Look at a business and it's the process of valuing it and understanding where he can increase the value and the time frame by which it will be required to do that to exit himself in a way that's profitable. 8 times he's done it and done it very successfully.
Wow. So would you say that guy's the gentleman that you're speaking of right now that has built and sold 8 companies, would you say that his biggest strength is just the ability to systematize and build processes?
I think and it's so interesting, right? These entrepreneurial skills. His biggest skill is reading people. Like he really goes in. You got it part right. Like he's got a system, but it's really for him where he sees potential and he can assess people. And the way he does it first is he looks at who's operating a business and realizing perhaps they don't have the skills that they need. Mm-hmm. He knows he's better at it, and he knows he can parachute a team in there to do it even better and take himself out of the process and then sell it. So his real skill is reading people. I've just watched him very adeptly manage that process throughout. And it's fascinating to see him negotiate a deal because he's such a good people person.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Very cool. All right, JP. Well, we're going to jump right into our moments of truth section here. Okay. It's the same 7 questions that we ask all our guests, and we're just going to hop right in. JP, who is your success role model?
Success role model. Likely be a lawyer that is still a mentor and friend of mine. If you can believe this, I knew from a very early age I wanted to be a lawyer, and I went down and knocked on the door of the local lawyer where I was growing up in grade 6, and I said I wanted to be a lawyer and could I shadow him for the day. He said sure, and had me shadow him and sort of taught me some of the principles I've been talking about here. Whereas he's a business lawyer and very very focused on he did a lot of planning for developers. And so helping the developer structure things from a tax perspective and grow their businesses. So I saw that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I went back to that same lawyer after first year law school. So I don't know what that was, 10 years later or whatever, and knocked on the door again. And I said, hey, you remember me? He got kind of scared because he thought maybe I was like a illegitimate son or something like that. But I explained who I was again, and I just finished first year law school, and I'd like to shadow him for the day. I continued the lessons there, and as I say, he continues to be a friend to this day. He's one of the ones that said get involved with podcasting, actually. As you guys know, cool. Is a real reach to that. So he's a big. Yeah. I don't want these answers to be too long for you. I know you want to get through all of them, but he would be a big influence on me.
Very cool. Very cool. What's your biggest success?
Biggest success is probably the law firm. I mean, outside of personal life, family. I'm married with two kids and have a wonderful family life. But probably the business itself. Personally, you can hear what I'm passionate about. Very, very lucky to be able to say that I've been able to do what I love and grow my own business in tandem with helping clients grow theirs.
Awesome. What's a typical day for you look like?
Typical day is up early with the kids and getting people fed and ready for school.
What time do you usually wake up?
I'm usually 6:45.
Okay.
I know it's a big thing people are looking at now for that lifestyle, but yeah, we're usually up at 6:45.
Okay.
And get my little guy off to school for 8. So it's to the actually it's either to the office or I try to get a workout in, and then it's to the office. And then it depends on the day, but usually the day is a series of meetings. The majority of the day is meetings, and then the legal work interspersed amongst those. Evenings usually pickups, dinner, and then I'm usually writing or doing some of my own podcast work in the evenings. So they tend to go fairly late, and then you're back at it the next day.
Nice. Sounds like a productive day.
Yeah. JP, what's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote. You guys prepared me for this, so I'm just going to turn around. So the book that's about to come out, I'm just going to read, is Benjamin Franklin. And this is something that, and no surprise, a lawyer is going to say something like this, but Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Right? And that's one of the first things I say to my client when we talk about that process. Like I look at, how they're organized. I'm like, you can hire me, or you can hire, someone like me to get things in order for you, or you can fail, because that's what will end up happening if you don't.
Very true.
Very true. You see people trying to go lose weight and they're like, I'm going to go on a diet, but there's really nothing. They just have this vision or this dream, and it never, without a plan, it doesn't amount to anything.
That's right. Yeah.
So JP, what are some of your hobbies?
So hobbies, I guess it's seasonal dependent. I'm a golfer in summer. I'm a hockey player in winter, and my, I guess, real love is the cottage. So I spend as much time at the cottage in between those things. In which case, it's everything cottage related. I got a boat up there, and we're spending
the family there,
or around the campfire, right? Depending again time of day or time of year.
Wow, that sounds great. Nice and relaxing.
That does sound great. What's the best business book that you've read?
Probably the best business book. I just look over to my bookshelf as I say this, but it's probably Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, right? Because he sort of set the table for what we just described there as a planning, like to be conscious about what you're executing on, because that's what he was espousing, is to actually think about it and putting your plan into place. If you're able to do that effectively, it can be repeated, and that success pattern can be repeated.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Last question here, JP. If there was one key piece of advice you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what do you think it would be? Yeah,
I get asked this often, and it really is sincerely, take the steps, like take the action. I don't know how many times I talk to an entrepreneur or somebody with a goal, kind of what we just described about losing weight, without a plan to putting concrete steps into place. And so I always say to people, take those first steps. Those first steps lead to momentum, and momentum creates greatness, right? So anytime I hear from somebody, I say to them, great. And I know that if I'm talking to somebody, in a half-hour consult, my time is tight. I'll be generous to a point, and I'll say, great, you want to get going? We'll send you an agreement, a retainer, we'll get going. And if not, best of luck to you. If I hear from them, I know that they may be putting steps into place for their own success. If not, they're just another dreamer. And it's unfortunate to see people's dreams go unrealized, but that's what happens when they don't take the steps. So the short advice is take those steps and get moving on it immediately.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got to make the action. JP, real quick, what are some of your wants and needs for your business and going in the future?
Yeah. So wants and needs for the business. I'm always, you can hear I'm passionate about what I do. I'm always looking for similarly passionate entrepreneurs that ideally have achieved some level of success, so something with a going concern. And I think that great things happen when like-minded people get together. So for the business, like I said before, it's good business. It's good for the person that works with me, or persons that work with me, and it's good for the firm. As we collaborate and work together and create value, everybody wins. So that's what I look for on a regular basis. I look for like-minded people, and collectively we all win.
That's great.
Great.
So, JP, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they need a new lawyer?
Yeah, thanks. If any of this resonates with anybody listening, the firm is called conductlaw.com, which is conduct, like how you conduct your affairs, conductlaw.com. The podcast is called The Millionaire's Lawyer. As they say, there'll be a book and course to follow. All of that can be found at jpmcavoy.com. So jpmcavoy.com, jpmcavoy.com.
Awesome, JP.
Beautiful.
Well, that wraps things up for us today here. JP, we appreciate you being on the show with us. And listeners, be sure to check out his podcast, The Millionaire's Lawyer, and his new book coming out here soon. And also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealthjunkies and subscribe to our show so that way you do not miss any of our daily shows. Again, JP, we appreciate your time. Listeners, we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Great. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, JP.